So now what we'll do is we'll start with Dr. Novick giving a little presentation. And his presentation last holiday party last year was a big hit. So, back on popular demand, Dr. Novick.
Well, that's a hard act to follow. Try my best. As you know, I've been working on a book on the humor in gastroenterology. Many of you have given me some great stories, so I'm going to summarize a few of them tonight. And I want to tell you, in case you were worried, this discussion will have no profanity. But please, forget your vanity. So, as you know, one of the thing that... Oh. Okay. The thing that the patients like the least is the bowel prep. In fact, the book I'm writing tentatively is called Laughter is the Best Bowel Prep. So, one guy came in and the nurse said, well, how did the prep go? And he said, well, it was really horrible. I was up all night. I was miserable. I should have got loaded. And the nurse said, well, actually, you got unloaded. So one of the things that our diligent staff does is review the history before the patient comes in, before they go back to the procedure room. And a very important component of that is to ask about allergies. So one time the nurse said to the patient, do you have any allergies? And she said, yes, I'm allergic to giraffes. So the nurse barely refrained from rolling her eyes and said, well, we don't have any giraffes on the schedule today. And anyway, our ultra-long scopes are out for repair. Another patient said, I'm allergic to oxygen. So the nurse said, well, just keep holding your breath. So a big part of what we do involves anesthesia. And there are two types, as you know. The conscious sedation is a slower type of anesthesia, and the total IV anesthesia is with propofol. That's a more rapid onset and more rapid offset. So with the conscious sedation, the patient falls asleep more gradually, and they may talk for a while as they're kind of fading out. And so one patient said to the nurse, you know, as I get sleepier and sleepier, you're looking better and better. And she was telling this to one of her associates, and the other nurse said, well, I got slammed just as bad. One guy said to me, you look better in the dark. So propofol, as you know, was made famous by Michael Jackson. His doctor did not read the warning label on the bottle. It said, do not try this at home. He's serving time for involuntary manslaughter. But it became well known among our patients that it's actually a very good medication. And people actually ask for it now. But there's one side effect that's not so well known. And this has been noted especially by a couple of our young, handsome male anesthesiologists. And it's a tendency among women as they're waking up to make amorous statements. So one time a young woman said, I'd like to take that anesthesiologist out on a date so he can spike my drink. A middle-aged woman said to the anesthesiologist, I'm in the kitchen now. Tell me what you want me to fix up. And a 70-year-old woman said, I'm a cougar, and I'm coming to get you. Now luckily, none of these things were remembered by the patients afterwards and were not discussed by the staff, because we put a high level of importance on confidentiality. So whatever happens in the procedure room stays in the procedure room, except if I hear about it. And then It may be widely publicized, but without any identifiers. So one time, a doctor was doing a procedure, and he was having a lot of trouble. He couldn't get through, and he was getting frustrated, he was getting agitated, he was sweating, he was cursing, he was getting all up in arms. You might be able to guess who this is. No names were mentioned. So the anesthesiologist who was there had his iPhone connected to a speaker. So he craftily dialed up the volume and selected a particular song, and out came the pulsating beats of Queen and David Bowie, Under Pressure. So everyone laughed, the doctor relaxed, and he got through. So this led to a discussion on some possible playlists for colonoscopy. Song titles that would reflect the different stages of what we do. So for the prep, you could have the song by Bobby Darin, Splish Splash. The Eagles, Take It to the Limit. Or Led Zeppelin, When the Levee Breaks. Now, in the procedure itself, you could have a song that describes all of our doctors. Smooth Operator. You could have the Beatles, I'm Looking Through You. Or Creedence, Looking Out My Back Door. There's another song that's not so well known. It came out in 1954 by Dinah Washington, and it's called Big Long Sliding Thing. So she insists in the song that what she's singing about is her trombone playing man with this big long sliding thing. But we know what she's really saying. Colonoscopy. Now, there are a few songs that you wouldn't want to hear if it were your colonoscopy, like Stairway to Heaven. Heaven is one step away. But those of us who work in the procedure room know that there's one song, even more than those, that you would not want to hear if it was your colonoscopy. This is by the Flaming Lips. She Don't Use Jelly. Yeah, think about that one. The next story takes place in the GI clinic at the hospital. And this was on July 1st. It was the first day of the academic year. There was a new doctor, and this doctor had grown up in an English-speaking country, and then he did some of his training in Great Britain. So he had an impeccable British accent. And his first patient was a man who had severe rectal pain. The doctor suspected an anal fissure. So he wanted to confirm this by doing an anoscopy. Now, as you probably know, the anoscope is a short, clear plastic disposable device, and just goes in the patient about an inch, and the doctor shines a light through it and takes a look. So the nurse got the patient into position. The doctor carefully lubed up the anoscope and inserted it. And then he turns to the nurse and he says, "Hand me the torch." At which case, the patient jumps up, he squeezes his sphincter muscle, and the scope goes flying across the room and hit the nurse on the shoulder. He's screaming, "Let me out of here! You guys are crazy! You're torturing me!" The nurse got everybody settled down and asked a lot of questions. And what she figured out was that in British English, the word for flashlight is torch. So I'm going to close with the story I told last year, but I have a new twist at the end. And this is, I was doing a colonoscopy, and there was a nurse that I'll call Becky who was assisting me, and another nurse named Janet came into the room and said, "I seem to have lost my stethoscope. I can't find it anywhere. Has anybody seen it?" So Becky said, "Well, what color is it?" And Janice said, "Teal." Becky shook her head. And then there was dead silence. I looked over at the anesthesiologist. He looked over at me. We were confused, befuddled. And finally he said, "Could you translate that into male language?" So about a week later, I saw Janet in the hallway, and I said, "Did you find your stethoscope?" And she said, "No, but I like your chartreuse shirt and your light blue tie." And I said, "Did you say a charbroiled steak with fries?" So teal became a joke with my wife and I. She's always pointing out things that are teal. So one time we were driving in the neighborhood and we saw a yard sign for ovarian cancer awareness, and it said, "Wear teal to support ovarian cancer research." And I was thinking, you know, that's really interesting that teal is the color for ovarian cancer. And I thought that other diseases have their particular colors, like breast cancer has pink, heart disease has red. So I was thinking, well, what color should colon cancer awareness be? Anyone have an idea? Well, UPS has that one. So I really think it should be a rainbow, because colon cancer affects every race, every walk of life, every age group, and the fight against it is very important. All of you are playing a tremendous role. It's still a very serious disease with more than 50,000 people dying every year. But with your help, we're making a dent in it, as well as all the other conditions that we treat. So I want to close by also thanking you for all the excellent work that you do for our patients and to promote our practice and to make our care at the highest level possible. So thank you very much.